During World War II, survival demanded more than courage and firepower, it demanded imagination. In the chaos of bombings, hunger, and those bitter winters, soldiers quickly learned that ingenuity was as valuable as any weapon. Some of their tricks were so effective, so quietly brilliant, that military command classified them, locking the secrets away for decades. These were not the kind of lessons you'd find in training manuals. They were born out of desperation, from men who just refused to die when the odds said they should. Disease was one of the war's deadliest killers, claiming more soldiers than bullets in many regions. In muddy trenches and tropical swamps, infection spread like wildfire, but a small, dark red bar of carbolic soap became an unlikely savior. It was packed with phenol, a powerful antibacterial agent that killed germs on contact. Soldiers didn't just use it to wash their hands, they used it to clean wounds, sterilize tools, and even purify water bottles. In those filthy environments, a simple bar of soap meant the difference between life and a slow, painful death. Losing one could cost a man his life. Fire was another matter of life and death, but behind enemy lines, lighting a visible flame was suicide. Any flicker of light or wisp of smoke could give away a soldier's position, so they invented a solution that was equal parts clever and life-saving: the stealth stove. With nothing more than a tin can, a few holes punched along the sides, and a small candle or block of solid fuel inside, the device trapped heat while hiding the flame. It was silent, smokeless, and almost invisible to the enemy. Even something as ordinary as coffee became a weapon of endurance. You know, in the constant grind of war, morale was everything. A simple cup of coffee, weak, reused, or bitter, reminded soldiers of home, of normalcy, of humanity. When rations ran low, they toasted barley or chicory to imitate the taste. It wasn't about caffeine. It was about holding on to a piece of civilization while the world collapsed around them. Clean water, too, was nearly impossible to find. Rivers were often contaminated with oil, blood, or bacteria. Soldiers learned to improvise. They crumbled pieces of dense bread into cloth and poured the water through it, using the bread as a primitive filter. It didn't make the water sterile, but it removed mud and grime, making it safer to boil. Cigarettes, surprisingly, became another survival tool. Even soldiers who didn't smoke carried them. They were more than just nicotine, they were currency. In war-torn villages and prison camps, a cigarette could buy food, medicine, or, even a bit of favor. It could calm a nervous guard or maybe buy a few seconds of distraction during an escape. The act of sharing a cigarette was a kind of silent diplomacy, a rare human exchange in a world of hostility. Soldiers also discovered the power of something as humble as a sewing kit. A ripped coat in the snow could lead to frostbite, and a torn mosquito net in the tropics could mean malaria. Hidden in jacket linings or belt pouches, tiny sewing kits allowed men to patch uniforms, repair boots, or even make fishing lines. When rain drenched their matches and lighters failed, soldiers turned to a crude but effective method to spark fire. They soaked strips of cloth in grease, oil, or animal fat, then stored them in small tins. These makeshift torches caught sparks even in freezing rain. The smell was terrible, the smoke thick, but it burned long enough to dry wood or cook food. Salt, too, proved invaluable. It wasn't just seasoning, it was preservation. In the humid jungles of the Pacific, fresh meat spoiled in hours. Soldiers rubbed salt into rations to keep them edible, packed it into boots to draw out moisture, and even used it to prevent infections in wounds. Even bread, the most basic of rations, became a tool of innovation. When a button snapped off a uniform, a soldier couldn't just replace it. Exposure to cold could mean frostbite or, well, even worse. So, they rolled wet bread into small balls, pressed them flat, poked 2 holes through, and left them to dry in the sun. Perhaps the most ingenious of all wartime tricks came in the form of a deck of playing cards. To guards, they looked harmless, a simple pastime for prisoners of war. But hidden inside was a secret only the Allied intelligence knew. When soaked in water, the cards peeled apart to reveal fragments of escape maps. What made these survival methods remarkable wasn't just their simplicity, it was the mindset behind them. Decades later, these tricks still hold lessons for us. In an age of convenience, we forget that human ingenuity once stood between life and death. The same tin can stove that kept a soldier alive in 1944 could keep a camper warm today. The same bread filter that saved a man in a muddy trench could still help someone purify water in a disaster. These secrets remind us that survival is less about what we carry, and more about how we think. The soldiers of World War II showed that creativity could be as powerful as courage, and sometimes, it was the only reason they made it home.